Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to get started with Confluence and start organizing yours or your team's thoughts and ideas into structured pages that you can then reuse and share to the wider team. So first of all, what you need to do is if you go to Atlassian.net, this will let you install Confluence for free. So you simply click try free here, and this will get you a brand new Confluence site that you can use. I show here, you can see I have a brand new Confluence site that we're going to get started with. So first of all, let's look at what you can actually store in Confluence and what the kind of structure of it is. So first of all, we have pages. These are the standard things that we use in Confluence. This is what you're going to be using the most of. These let you write text, include images, or insert macros onto the page. And you can also add even more things that we'll show you later on. Secondly, we have live docs. So live docs are effectively pages, but without versions. So you can basically work on them with your teammates all at the same time, and it will basically handle all the versioning in the background. So for all intents and purposes, live docs and pages are effectively the same, and you can think of them in the same kind of space in your mind. Thirdly, we have whiteboards. So whiteboards allow you to draw ideas similar to what you see here, and you can draw things like shapes, post-it notes, you can include images, icons, and you can also do cool things like automation off of where things are dragged. And lastly, we have databases. So databases let you store table data effectively in a more structured way, and you can pull in data from external sources as well into those. And what you'll find is all of these are interoperable. So a page can embed a whiteboard, a live doc can embed a database, databases can reference any of these things, etc. You can see Confluence has a very well structured hierarchy here. So now that we've gone through all the different object types that you can include in Confluence, what's the actual hierarchy here that we're going to start with? So first of all, when you install Confluence and you log in, you're going to be given your own space. This is called the personal space. And this is effectively a space for you to manage your content in. Maybe this content isn't content that's ready to be shared. Maybe these are just your personal notes in your company. So you can really use this personal space to organize your thoughts and also as a scratch pad for later promoting these pages to an organizational space. Let's take a look at how you should structure your Confluence instance first. So what I recommend is if you are a small team, let's say less than 50 people in your company, I would strongly recommend that you stick to having one space. So you're going to have personal spaces and you're going to have organizational spaces as well. So your personal spaces, as we showed earlier, these are basically going to be your users. Each of them is going to get a space. So nice and simple there. On the organizational spaces, if you're a small company, I would strongly recommend that you have one space. So your company space. And inside there, you're going to pull in, all of these are going to live inside here. So you'd have, each of these will be inside of that space. And you can use things like folders to actually structure these how you'd like. So we'll take a look at that now. But if you're a larger company, you might actually want to have an engineering space, for example. You might want to have a marketing space as well, and a sales space potentially. And then inside each of those, you can actually put your pages in here. And you can use folders as well to add hierarchy, or you can even just put those pages inside of one another. And inside those, you have your pages. You can also have your whiteboards and so on. And we'll take a look at how we can make this work for you and your company next. So I'm going to start by creating the marketing. And what I'd recommend is you click the custom option here and you choose a relevant image, or you can even upload one here from your computer for your team. Any kind of way you can customize or personalize things, that's always going to help with your staff picking this up and making it feel like it's theirs. So I'm happy with the current options. I can change the space key here as well if I want, but let's click next. And then on this page, this lets you select what features you'd like enabled. But I'll show you later how you can do this in a more effective way. So first things first, what I recommend to do is to click on these three dots and go to the space settings. This is going to be where you can configure, all the options to do with this space, so you can enable access. But first of all, what I'd suggest is going into the features page here and disabling some things that you're not going to need. So this cleans up that sidebar quite a lot. So if you disable the calendars, which is a premium feature, and you disable shortcuts, this will give you immediately a much cleaner sidebar on the left there. So you can see I don't have various things here that I don't need. And so now what we can do is we can edit our space homepage here. This is the first page people see when they go on this space. And we can click on the right left here to create different docs. So if we first look at a page, the Confluence page editor gives you a really nice user interface for adding pages. And we can also use Rovo here to generate this page for us or give us a start. As you can see, it's generated me a nice starting point, which I can then customize myself and add more sections. Some things to be aware of here are you can obviously type text in here, but you can also type the / key to bring up the macro or element browser. So using this, I could say add a table. I can add links to other pages or to websites. I could also, for example, embed a database or a whiteboard in the page. And there's a whole load of these macros that we'll cover in a different video, but you'll find the Confluence editor is very intuitive and easy to use, and there's lots of handy shortcuts. Like if you want to add a task, you can use the square brackets here to create a task. You can use 2 slashes to create a date. You can use dashes to start bullet points, or you can start typing, a numbered list in here. And all of this just works. So it's nice and easy. You can also use the colon key to bring up the emoji browser. And what else do we have in here? Things like images, statuses, info panels. We can add all of this really easily in Confluence. So using that, you can create your ideal team members page in this example, but you also have the ability to use the template library that Confluence has. So in here, you could search for a template that you think would be appropriate. As you can see, that's preloaded my page with a really useful template. Okay, so what about the other types of objects that we can add in Confluence? So we've just looked at pages, and as we've seen on the left here, we can create pages. We can also create subpages, so we can create a hierarchy here. So as you can see on the left, we've got our pages and we can create subpages here. We can also drag pages inside one another or outside of their hierarchy to create a structure in our site. But what else can we add? So we can also use folders. If I move myself out of the way, we can create folders. Folders are like pages, except, they don't have any content. They're just used for containing things. So this could be useful, for example, if we didn't want a top level page here, we actually just wanted each of our team members to be inside a folder, then we would be able to delete the unnecessary page. So in the past, we used to have pages acting as containers, and they would usually be an empty page, so not really bringing any value. So moving on, let's take a look at live pages and how they differ from normal Confluence pages. So you see on the left, I've got my page tree and I've got some standard pages. And then this is a live page signified by that little icon there. And what live page does is you see it doesn't have an edit mode and a view mode. In fact, these are both the same mode here. So in fact, you can start typing and anyone looking at this page will immediately see this new change here. So I can demonstrate this quickly. If I'm on, or one of your team members more likely is on another computer, they can actually start typing new stuff in here and you'll see it live on the page there. So this is really useful if you're in a team meeting and you actually all want to be writing up your ideas as the meeting goes on, just to make the most use of your time. Live docs are a brilliant solution to that. Right, what's up next? We've got whiteboards. So whiteboards are a very useful feature of Confluence, which lets you draw. Think things like brainstorming, and writing ideas up. So I can immediately start putting up Post-it notes here. I could put up ideas for my team, and then we can really easily kind of make these bigger. We could give them different colors. And then what we could do is we could organize these using the various features this has. So for example, I could draw a section and now I can move everything in this section around at once. So we could say, this section is for ideas. And then we could have another section for, to do, and etc. So it's nice and easy. And it also has things like, you can add stickers to posters. So you could use this for like voting, for example, in your team. You could say how many people want to vote for a particular task. And you can also import issues from Jira. And you can also make use, similarly like the pages, of a whole bunch of really useful templates that help you get started straight away with a new whiteboard. So here we have one for a brainstorming, and this already gives us some really cool ideas for how to proceed. And this is in addition to the standard, you can still draw stuff around. You could still leave comments as well. So one of the really helpful features I find of whiteboards is actually I can comment on something. And now when we're discussing this whiteboard with our team, people can easily see what my comments are right away. So I'm not going to go into every single feature that Whiteboards has, but it's really useful for simple brainstorming tasks, etc. And we can also really easily embed this on our page. So in this example, I'm going to keep it to just this. And let's, for example, say I want to add this to my page. I can basically copy that link. And this is going to really nicely lead me on to the next feature. So by pasting this on the page and clicking here and on the embed, you'll see I can embed that whiteboard directly on a Confluence page. And then maybe off of that, I want to actually put it underneath the page. So super easy and really handy to get your ideas all on the same page so that your team can get working. So let's take a look at the last two object types in Confluence and how you can use them. So first of all, we've got smart links. So smart links are I think, not well-known feature of Confluence, but I find them really useful when I'm trying to centralize my company's focus on what we actually need to be doing instead of going on 50 different product sites and, Jira, Confluence, Trello, YouTube, etc. We can actually get everything into one hierarchy, one page tree here. So let's say inside planning, I want to actually put one of our Trello boards that we have. So I simply can copy the link to that Trello board, paste it in here. And what you'll see is this will actually render the full Trello board, including the ability to drag and edit tasks around here, completely within Confluence. And you can also do the same with things like your Scrum board or your dashboards in Jira as well. So instead of expecting staff to kind of dart around 50 different apps, you can actually put everything all in one place, all in Confluence, so everyone knows exactly where to find stuff. So you see just how easy that was to embed a Confluence dashboard, a Trello board. So smart links are super useful, and this all adds, again, to you can embed these on pages still, and you can embed them as smart links. So that Trello board, I could also embed that in my page here. Nice and easy, intuitive. That brings me on to the final object type in Confluence, which is a database. So databases, if I move myself again, databases allow you to create basically advanced tables in Confluence. So you could have simple fields here where you could put text, but you could also embed tags or users into them. Or we could even add like fields for pages, for media, etc. And again, following the trend with Confluence, there's also a whole bunch of templates here. So we could get started with a database of employees. We could then view that as a gallery. We could view it as a table, or we could even have it as a board where we can move people around. And just as before with the whiteboards, if we click this copy link button and then jump to a page, and I'll get rid of my Trello board, and instead I want to embed my database in here. Again, if we click inline and then move to embed, we now have that database embedded in the page. And we can easily jump to it here. And maybe the final thing I want to do is just rename that database and maybe drag it in there. We can really easily build a structure for our Confluence site that is well architected and helps your team work to their best efficiency and actually makes Confluence that one point where all of your stuff is, so you can use it as your company intranet. So I hope that's been useful, and I hope you've been able to learn something and get started with Confluence.